Welcome back to another Flames War Battle Report, back to Mission 3 for the Euro Tripling campaign that Tom and Lucas have put together. So this mission will be Operation Cobra, the initial thrust of the veteran Americans into the German lines. This time Tom has not been killed by a preliminary bombardment, so he is able to take command of his own troops this time, and Lucas likewise is also able to take command of his own. So Lucas will be playing as the veteran American 1st Infantry Division, and Tom will be commanding the 2nd SS. So we'll have a little look at the mission we'll be playing, and then we'll have a look at the lists. Okay, so for this mission we'll be using the Gauntlet mission, now found in the Flames of War mission pack. We are going to play with a slight variation of the rules with this. Instead of the Germans having delayed scattered reserves, they're going to have scattered immediate reserves instead. Having played this mission twice myself, once as the attacker and once as the defender, it is nigh on impossible as a defender to get your reserves in time, and since you have to move on to the objective, you'll most likely find that the attacker can have his or her troops on the objective by turn 1 in the right circumstances. I think both of the games with me and Tito that was the case, and then it's hard to get things off the objective, especially when your reserves are delayed, so you're looking quite some time before you can even get reserves on if you're very unlucky. And even if you do get them on, they might go in the wrong place. So we tried that today, and we're just going to see if it makes the game a little bit more competitive and a little bit more fun to play. Okay, so this is Lucas's list. He's got a veteran rifle company represent the 1st Infantry Division. Then you've got plenty of armoured support. As you can see in the command cards, I've got an infantry OP, part of our experimental rules that Tom and Lucas have written. Is you can again have infantry OPs for a point rather than paying a little bit more for the tanks armoured OP that you can generally have. So this is no command cards for Lucas today, so we'll have a little breakdown of his force as we go through each formation and support. So this is the veteran rifle company. These are just the rifle platoons. So you have the HQ of 2 SMG teams. We have 1 full platoon, and they have 2 LMGs. Just 1 LMG and 2 bazooka teams. 2nd platoon is a smaller team, so 7, but they do have 2 LMGs with them and 2 bazookas. And then finally 3rd platoon, the smallest of them all, just 7 teams and 2 bazookas. And that's all the infantry elements of the formation, but there is formation support as well. They're still in the formation. And a debut to the channel is the 105 Shermans. I've had these models for ages, used them a couple of times but not on the channel. So they are Shermans with a 105cm howitzer attached to them, so they're quite good. They are slow firing, but they are brutal, with a 2+ firepower when they fire in directly, and they can fire as bombardment as well. So quite nice heavy artillery unit to have in your formation. And they're also front 7 Shermans as well, so a bit meaty as well. Okay, so here we have still more support. This is just the tank teams. So we have 4 veteran 76mm Shermans and 4 veteran M5 Stuart, and we have a armoured recon as well with 1 Greyhound, 1 MG Jeep and 1 mortar Jeep, and that is all the tank units, and we still have more formation coming. We also have in support a veteran armoured rifle platoon. I'm using paratroopers to represent these because I'm running thin on infantry with this formation. So it's a shorter one, so there are 2 30 cal half tracks and 2 50 cal half tracks. We have 4 bazooka teams, 4 M1 teams and 2 LMGs and a mortar as well in that. So with this mission, they most likely will be the first people on the objectives. Still in the American list, in the final section of their force, we have 2 units of 3 priest batteries, and in the middle you can see the infantry OP, which I did when things was just starting to migrate from late war version 3 to the new version 4 late war. So this was the the big book with all the lists in it with the old point system. So I made one and I never used it again. So hopefully the infantry OPs will come back, nice, cheap, and remember they used to have, you can have a little jeep with them as well, so you can mount them up. Okay, so here is Tom's Vavan SS list, more or less represented the second SS here with the command cards he has. So you can see SS Panzer Grenadier Company, and then he's got some quite meaty tanks in support as well. But no Vesps this time for Tom. So we'll have a little look at the force breakdown. Okay, and here we have the infantry element of the SS Panzer Grenadier Company. So we have first platoon, the 7 MG42 teams with a Panzerfaust and a Panzerschreck. Then we have the third platoon in the middle. They're going to be the Pioneers, and they also have a Panzerfaust. And then second platoon are the armoured recce ones. So they have 7 SDKFZ 250 half tracks, all MGs, and then there's 7 teams with them, and then we also have the HQ, which is 2 SMG teams. Okay, so still in the formation, we have 3 Pack 40s, 2 AA half tracks, but in this game they're actually used as the 2cm AA guns. I don't have the infantry bases, but when we looked at them, the width and length of the half track is actually very similar to the infantry base. So Lucas was okay with this, and Tom wanted them for a specific reason. He also has 4 heavy machine guns and 4 8cm mortars. And here finally the support for Tom's force. We have 4 SS Panthers and we have 5 SS Panzer IVs. So quite a lot of armour here supporting Tom's infantry. Okay, so we have a debut of a new command card. We have Adolf, and I'll let everyone else put in how to pronounce that one. And as I've written on the card, just to remind me, this is the second SS. So very good. The guys he's equipped with have a counterattack of 2+, and hit on assaults in the 2+ as well. So not a bad card for 3 points. And sticking with trying to be as historical as possible. I suppose Tom would normally take this card for the cost of what it is, but trying to keep history, he's doing quite well here with these lists. So that isn't it for the command cards. There are a few more. So there's 3 more cards for Tom. We have Own Goal. This is representing that some of the lead elements of the American armour were bombed by their own bombers when they went over before the preliminary bombardment for Operation Cobra. And then we've got Panzer Pioneer Platoon, which is attached to the 2nd SS Panzer Grenadiers, and he's also got Lucky as well, rounding up his force. 120 points for both players. Here's today's map. So basically the objective is pretty much the crossroads in the town, with Tom's deployment in either flank and a very little box in the centre top of the map for Lucas's deployment. So we have a river going through. The river will be a cross test, or it'll be a terrain dash at the fords, or it's just can drive straight over the bridge. So we have a few forests dotted around, and then a few fields as well. So plenty of buildings, plenty of bocage as well. We're playing this as bocage, as tall terrain, but with the experimental rules we've all written. The taller the terrain kind of trumps other terrain, so hills can look over bocage. If you're up against the bocage, you can't be seen, but like if you're in top of the church tower, you can pretty much see over everything because physically is taller than everything. So it's almost like true line of sight basically, and that's how we're playing it. And we've had some decent results out of our games by following it this way. And finally, a lot of people's favorite part of the show. Basically, my wife, also known as the Oracle of Battle on YouTube, she's thrilled about this. She guesses the results of the games before they happen. So today, Jen is backing Lucas and his Americans for a victory today. She basically looks over both forces and she casts her eye into the future and she predicts the outcome. And as I said, the Americans for today. So sorry, Tom, but the Oracle is not backing you today. Okay, so here we have German deployment. So we have the Pack 40s just behind the crest of the hill. Some of them can see in certain areas, but not much. And then both SS Panzer Grenadier platoons are here as well with the mortars. We have the heavy machine guns over on the right here, and then we have the Panzer IVs and the HQ and the 2cm AA guns, which are not trucks, over here. So in reserve, that makes it as the Panthers and the Recce. For the Americans, everything is bunched up over here, a lot of stuff on the road ready to utilise a road dash through over the bridge and into the town. So we have the armoured rifle platoon with the Stuarts and the armoured Recce on the road. We have the large 1st platoon and the HQ to their left in the field, and then we have the other platoon on their right. All the priests are bunched up in the woods, but their OP is on the road looking through the bocage. In reserve, we have the infantry's 3rd platoon, the 76mm Shermans and the 105 Shermans. So first turn goes to the Americans, and best of luck to both of you. Okay, so this is movement and shooting, because there will be no shooting. Basically, Lucas did not get any reserves on, and the armoured rifles have done a road dash all across the bridge and into the town centre. And we have the Stuarts behind, and then the armoured reconnaissance. 2nd platoon did a cross-country dash and then tried to do a follow me into the church. They failed, but they do have an LMG in the church already. HQ has moved into a central position, and 1st platoon has moved scattered around here, and they did a follow me, so some of them are now in the field. Now, because this is a meeting engagement, no artillery for the Americans, and because everything else dashed, that is it. So now we go into German turn 1. Okay, so these Americans thought it was a breeze just driving into this town and taking it, and all of a sudden there's SS appearing on their flanks. So, to their horror, the Americans have noticed 3 Pak-40s being pulled up to the top of the hill, and one of them is actually down the road, and the driver of this half-track, his eyes have widened noticing this, and they also seen some SS grenadiers moving into the farmhouse and skirting around the bocage. And even worse, on their left flank, they've noticed some Panzer IVs are popping up over the hill, and heavy machine guns down by the river, so they're caught in a crossfire here. We'll see if the Germans can really blunt this attack, and reserves are on the way for both sides, but the Americans have realised this town isn't going to be so easy to take. Okay, so a mixture of Panzer IVs and Pak-40s, 3 of these half-tracks have been brewed up, and one of them is bailed. So casualty wise for the infantry inside, 1 bazooka and 1 mortar has been destroyed, and the rest are in the buildings. That's how they backed up into it. The mortars ranged in up on the church, but did not get any hits because they ranged in on their last attempt, and then some of the SS grenadiers opened up into the infantry coming across, and 1 infantry guy poked his head around the church because he heard his Germans moping around, and he is gone. And then the guys in the farmhouse fired onto the cafe and the bakery, but got no kills. The LMGs opened up, managed to pin the infantry, but didn't get any kills, and that is where we end it. And then finally, in the assault phase, these guys did a shoot and scoot past and have moved back off the hill, ready for any Sherman reinforcements, and then this guy drove back into the field for defence. And that is it. So now we go into American turn 2. Okay, so American motivation. The half-track did not remount and then failed his last stand. So now the infantry backed, the rest of them are in these 2 corner sections here. They did not rally either. The platoon in the cornfield also did not rally. But the good news is Lucas rolled 2 successful dice for reserve, but then Tom spent his own goal, so now Lucas only has 1 unit of reserves coming in. So most likely it will be the Sherman 76s, I reckon, and we'll see what we get up to in the movement phase. Okay, so American movement. 1st platoon that has not been able to move because they're pinned, have dug in. 2nd platoon have moved into the church, but 3 of them are still outside, taking bulletproof cover in the bocage. The Recce are not moving because they can spot for artillery, and the Stuarts have done a cross-country dash into the town to take cover from the Pak-40s. And also the 76mm Shermans have popped up in the corner to try and get rid of the Panzer IVs, and I'll have to ask Lucas if he wants to do anything with his HQ. So we'll get into the shooting after we figure out what to do with him. Okay, so American turn 2 started with plenty of artillery in their shooting. The priest ranged in on the hills thanks to the OP, so he was able to see because it's on higher ground. Ranged in second attempt, no hits on the Pak 40s. The mortars are pinned, and the infantry again hit. They got pinned courtesy of the armoured rifles, and a sniper from 2nd platoon fired into the farmhouse, and they're pinned. The other platoon were 2 shots after getting pinned thanks to the armoured rifles. But the LMG in here is not very good. Looks like he's firing tracer rounds rather than live ammunition. The recce ranged in the other priest battery over here and managed to range in first time and get a kill on a HMG. And the other one ranged in on the farm, but ranged in final attempt and unfortunately got no hits. And over here, the Shermans managed to get 3 hits total, but this only resulted in 2 kills on the Panzer IVs, because Tom managed to roll a 6 on his armour save, and Lucas failed his firepower. So that is it. So now we're going into German turn 2. Okay, so first turn for SS to do their motivation, since there's no shooting last turn. The 8cm mortars and the grenadiers this side have all rallied, and the heavy machine guns have also rallied over here. So the only downside was no reserves have turned up for the SS, and as Lucas pointed out, if Tom was to roll this way with the delayed reserves, he wouldn't be getting any reserves till turn 6, and that is quite ropey for the defenders anyway, since the Americans are quite firmly set on the objectives at the moment and need to be pushed off. So let's get into German movement. Okay, German movement. The 3rd platoon, the pioneers, have moved up into this bend in the bocage to get bulletproof cover. One of them has stayed behind, and one has gone aside here. One of the Pak 40s is trying to move off the hill, and 1st platoon have occupied the barn, and there's still the 4 original teams in this building. Over here, the HMGs did a tactical and a follow me to get into the woods, and the Panzer IVs in a perfect demonstration of Flames of War movement. This guy did a tactical move because he was winning 8 of the Shermans. The unit leader did a cross-country dash to here, and then this guy did a terrain dash to here, and then the follow me was failed. The HQ have also moved into cover of the forest, and one of the 2cm AA guns moved up a little bit to here just to kind of block the Shermans because they can't move within 2 inches of the enemy unit. So that's a nice 2-point roadblock there from Tom. So these Shermans here are going to have to deal with these for a turn before they can move around. And that is it. So now we go into shooting. Due to blitz moves and basically dashes, and follow me's, all the shooting was condensed into this corner of the battlefield, as those AA guns can't even scratch the front armour of the Shermans. So basically the guys in the church have been pinned due to artillery. They've taken quite a few other shots from infantry, but remain standing, and then everything else poured into what we're calling Greg's, which is the cafe, and Costa, which is the coffee shop by here. So Greg's and Costa across the road from each other, taking a lot of fire from Pak 40s as well. At the moment only bazookas seem to be getting killed, but they're still pinned anyway from the other turn. And that is it from German shooting. So now we're going into turn 3 for the Americans. Okay, motivation step turn 3. The gentlemen in the church have rallied. Thanks to the deals Greg's and Costa now are providing, the armoured rifles have rallied as well. Although 1st platoon have not rallied even with their re-rolls, there's always one group of guys who don't like to play ball in the games, and this is them for today. And that was it. And one more unit of reserves are coming in for the Americans, and it's going to be the 3rd Rifle Platoon, and we'll get into movement and see where they're going to come from. Okay, so movement. The Stuarts have come out of the parking area here into the fields to hose down the SS Grenadiers in the open. There's been some rejigging around Greg's and Costa's, so unit leader and some other guys are in. Greg's in the middle, Costa's got an LMG, a rifle team and a bazooka, and in the apartment stores here on the left we have another LMG and a rifle team in the upper floors. The other platoon is doing a tactical and follow me going across the river. 3 guys from the guys in the church are moving around because there's no more room in here, and one of the Shermans tried to do a cross check to get over to try and have a shot at this Panzer IV but missed, didn't cross. This guy can actually shoot already on the unit leader, so he's going to go for that, and the other 2 have moved up into assault range on the 2cm AA guns, and that is it, because remember these are gun teams, not half tracks. So that is it, and we'll get into the shooting. Okay, so artillery not quite killing anything over here, but the Stuarts killed basically more infantry than Lucas has managed in 3 turns just with shooting it, but still 2 remain up here, and then there's still 2 more of that unit back here. Yeah, and again the Pak 40 is just not dying. Over here, only the 1 hit on the Panzer IVs, but he managed to bounce it with a 5, and the guy who managed to move out in the open got killed by a heavy machine gun, so it's just the guy next to the hedge who is about to be assaulted by the Shermans. And that is it. So again, repeat bombardment again from the mortar from the Jeep here, and just a few shots here from here. So basically a lot of stuff pinned, but again still not much dying apart from the Pioneers. And that is it. So we go into the assault and we'll see what happens. Okay, so the assault succeeded. Defensive AA did get 1 hit but got past. Both Shermans managed to get over the hedge to hit, and then they scored a kill, and that's it. That's a unit gone. And then they consolidate back here because there might be Panthers roaming around here next turn. So we'll see what happens. So we're going into German turn 3. Okay, so German motivation again basically summarised as awesome. Everything is unpinned, and the Pioneers did have to do a last stand because these 2 are together, but then this guy's over 6 inches away, which they passed again. Now both reserves have also come in as well. So the Panthers rolled 1, so they come in this side. The Recce rolled a 5, so they're coming over here, but Tom used his lucky card and now they're coming over here instead, so that's quite well spent. And that is it for motivations, and now we're going into movement. Okay, so German movement. The Panzer IV over here did a cross-country dash going through the gap here to get behind the woods. The other 2 did a tactical to here, then did a follow me going over the river. The HQ did a similar thing, moving to here, and then we have 2 heavy machine guns in the house doing a tactical, and then 1 not quite enough to get in. Over here, however, though, this is where the Panthers turned up doing a cross-country dash, staying 8 inches away from the Stuarts. Half of 1st platoon are moving up onto the Stuarts from the side in range of Panzerfaust and Panzerschreck. The other 4 are in the building. Pak 40s, one of them has moved a bit closer so you can see the Stuarts, and the Pioneers, the unit leader has pulled back doing a cross-country dash just to get back into coherency. And then the problem is for the guys going over the river is there's a lot of 250 half tracks with their MGs ready to hose them down, so it's going to be quite brutal over here. But the Americans still hold Greg's and Costa, which is the focal point of this battle, so we'll see if the Germans can keep on edging their way into their objectives. Okay, so German shooting. The half tracks in this Pioneer team managed to pin this platoon and kill 2 of the lead rifle teams. Over here, the Pak 40s managed to pop 2 of the Stuarts. 2 of them are still active. This team here is pinned thanks to the amount of firepower going in from the 1st platoon. And the mortars managed to kill a further rifle team of this. So all 3 American rifle platoons in this area are pinned. Well, actually all of them are pinned because this guy's still pinned over here. And the LMGs are trying to bully the Recce, and they managed to kill the LMG because Lucas fobbed the hit onto the Greyhound, who managed to bounce it. And that's where we end it, and Tom has a choice whether he wants to assault
with this platoon here onto the 2 remaining Stuarts. But there's still some defensive fire left in these buildings, so let's see what he decides to do, or we're going into American turn 4. As you can see, we're in American turn 4. There was no assaults, but basically all 3 of the Veteran Rifle Company platoons have failed to rally. First platoon being their 3rd turn of not rallying, even with a reroll, although the armoured rifles have rallied, and of course the 105s are coming in because Lucas will be rolling 4 dice for them, so they're going to be coming in where they're needed, I suppose. So that is it for motivation, and now we're going into movement, where a lot of things are going to be trying to dig in, and the armoured rifles basically doing all the work again. Okay, so in the movement, the 105s have moved up, and the infantry in front of them have dug in because they can't move any further forward. The Stuarts have moved back to get some cover in the blockage and to still fire at these infantry out in the open. Nothing else in the town moved because the armoured rifles are in a good position where they are, and everyone else dug in, so these 3 guys outside dug in. The Sherman 76s passed a blitz move and then did a tactical, so they're on the hill, so they can shoot over at the Panzer IVs and hopefully get rid of them. And that is it for American movement. So we'll go into the shooting phase, and maybe, I reckon this is the turn they might get a Pack 40, so we'll see. Okay, so I was half right in my prediction that a Pack 40 would die this turn. 2 actually died, so a Priest got one, and then the 105s got the other. The Pioneers again have been pinned by a mixture of the guys from the church and the guys across the river, so that's quite good over there, but no kills. The 1st platoon are down to 3 guys and are pinned, and the Priest managed to range in here, courtesy of the Greyhound across here, being able to spot, and he actually managed to pop a Panther as well. The 76s got a hit apiece on the Panthers, but these 2 managed to bounce them, and this one got blown up. These infantry here opened up onto the HMGs, got 2 hits total, but no kills. And that is where we end turn 4 for the Americans, and now we go into turn 4 for the Germans. Okay, so summary of motivation, and Tom has failed his first motivation of the game to rally the 8cm mortars. The Pack 40 staying and has rallied, of course, and then everyone else has rallied, so everything is continued to rumble, but the infantry platoon have really battered over here, so basically the Recce are going to have to get in the fight, and the Panthers are in danger of getting swamped by Priest batteries at the moment, so let's see how this ends up in the movement. Okay, so German movement. The remaining guys of the 1st platoon are moving to assault this house. Only 1 rifle team in this house. The rest are in Greg's and Costa over here. The Panthers are moving, only 2 have moved, so they're basically trying to get rid of the Stuarts. The remaining Pioneer who was left behind is moving, so if these guys are not dead but bailed out, he's going to just knock on the hatch and say, just surrender. And then one of the Grenadiers have moved up, and then all the half-tracks of the terrain dash back here. Other movement, the remaining HMG has moved into this terrace building, and the Panzer IVs have tactically moved, trying to get away from the 76s, but also getting shots on the Stuarts as well. And then the HQ did a terrain dash and a follow me. So again, clocking up some miles, the Panzer IVs and HQ over here, and that is where we end it. So these outbuildings ideally should have been occupied by the Americans, but they just could not unpin 1st platoon, but it might be a bit late for them. So we'll see what happens in the shooting, probably see the end of the Stuarts, and maybe the start of a foothold in these buildings for the Germans. So let's see what happens. Okay, shooting this turn, the Panthers managed to kill 1 Sherman and bail the other. This guy fired his Panzerfaust but completely missed. These guys missed the house basically. The Panzer IV missed the Stuart as well, and the Pack 40 managed to bail one of the Sherman 105s at long range. The heavy machine guns fired into the Recce and managed to kill the mortar jeep, so the Greyhound is going to be last standing. And then these guys split their fire between this lot and got no hits. So there is assault going into the apartment store. There's some defensive fire, and then obviously finally what happens then is this guy's just going to knock on top of the Stuart and say surrender, and that'll be it. So let's see if these guys can get in. Okay, to summarise the assault, the SS won it at a cost of 1 team, and the Americans lost 2. So basically, the 2 SS remaining teams who will be last standing now occupy the centre building of this terrace, and then the 3 remaining teams of the armoured rifles are here. The Stuart got told to surrender, and the SS Grenadier is now here, taking cover in the bulletproof cover provided by the Americans. And that is it. So now we go into American turn 4. Turn 5. Turn 5 is, shouted at by the gang. So yeah, turn 5, not 4. Okay, so this platoon across the river has rallied. The guys in the church have not, the armoured rifles have not, and 1st platoon again have not rallied. But strangely enough, the Greyhound has rallied, and that is where we end American motivation. Yeah, the armoured rifles did rally. Did I say that right? I'll have to go and record in for that one. So we go into American movement, turn 5. Okay, American movement. So the infantry platoon that has actually rallied is crabbing across the field, leaving an open firing lane for the 105s to hopefully get rid of the pioneers. Everything else in the middle can't move because they're pinned. The 76ers have moved down the hill to get within 50 cal range of the HMGs. One of them does have a concealed shot going through the gaps perfectly onto a Panzer IV, and everything else has remained still. So armoured rifles are sitting tight in Costa on the corner by here. Yeah, so that is it. So it's a shame that 1st platoon has not rallied since turn 2. And Lucas did do the number crunching for this, and it is very, very bad. So, but we always have one team that doesn't rally all game. For Tom, it might be the 8cm mortars, but we'll see. Okay, American shooting. This Pak 40 still remains after having quite a bit of fire from the infantry and the priests hitting it again. The 2 guys in next to the Bocage have gone, so 3rd platoon will be last standing. As well as 1st platoon as well. The Panthers are unscathed with nothing fired at them, and then no hit, a couple of hits on heavy machine guns, but no kills. And that is it for American shooting. So now we go into German turn 5. Okay, so German motivation. So 3 failed pins in a row, but all the last stand pass. So motivation mixed bag here for the SS for the first time. So that is 3 of the 4 failed rally tests here for Tom in this one turn. So what are they going to do in the movement phase? So things can start contesting objectives now, hopefully, but there's still that one objective here in the field here that the Americans have a firm grip of, and the heavy machine guns are going to have to move to contest it. So let's see what we can do. Okay, so German movement. The armoured Raki are going to try and hose down the Americans in the open here. Well, in outer bulletproof cover, and the remaining Pioneer unit leader is going to do the same. The other guy from the Pioneer team is now in Greg's, enjoying the sausage rolls. The Panthers have moved up with the Blitz, so one guy has moved up onto the hill and one by the Bocage to go for the 105s, and the other one is also contesting this objective. Make sure he is contesting. The Panzer IVs are moving up through the street, getting MG fire onto Costa, and all the HMGs now are on the bottom floor of this terrace building here, and the HQ is by here. So they're contesting this objective as well, so the Americans will have to push them off if they ever bloody rally over here, which will be a miracle. So we'll see what happens in German shooting. Okay, so shooting phase. The Panthers and Pak 40s firing at the Shermans, got no hits, and then this team lost another rifle team and a bazooka and are basically doubly pinned. The other Panthers fired MGs into various targets. Costa's pinned as well, believe. Yeah, there was enough hits on them to pin them, and basically all the rifle teams again are all pinned again, which has been the case every turn for the Americans. So going into turn 6 for the Americans need to clear away the HMGs from this terrace building, or at least these 2 end bits, and then they can claim a costly victory. So let's see if they can finally rally first platoon to try and achieve this objective. American motivation, 3rd platoon has rallied, 2nd platoon has rallied, 1st platoon finally rallied. Welcome to the game, boys. Armoured rifles have had a battering and have done a lot of work this game, have stayed pinned, and the Greyhound has decided to drive away. So it's all to play for now with the platoons active. Can even go some panther hunting with some bazookas as well. So let's see what they get up to in American turn 6. Right, so 1st platoon has moved into assault range. Maybe they just need encouragement from the Shermans pushing up, or just the fury that the Pioneers now enjoying Greg's sausage rolls, and they haven't got their food now, so they're going for it. 2 of the bazookas from 2nd platoon are going panther hunting. They got some side shots by there, and 2 more moved up just to contest this objective in case things go problematic. 3rd platoon is dug in, and the 105s have remained stationary because they can draw shots onto the half tracks. So that is American movement, and now they need to do their shooting as well. Okay, American shooting. The Pak 40 will not die. The Panther by here is bailed and is in assault range from the bazookas with not much to really do about it. We also have a bailed out Panzer IV back here as well, and one of the HMGs in the middle floor has been killed, so that leaves just 2 left remaining holding this objective. And yep, we've also lost a half track and no casualties there. So that is where we end the shooting, and then we're going to see if there's going to be many assaults. Okay, so the assault is finally over. The Americans managed to kill the HMGs and also bag a Panzer IV that was bailed as well. So that concludes the game because they started within 4 and there's no enemy teams contesting this objective. So it is a costly victory to the Americans, giving I always forget the scores. It is a 6-3 victory to the Americans because the Americans lost the Stuarts, the transports, and they lost the recce as well. So speaking to Tom and Lucas, who are your man of the matches?
Do you want to go first, Tom? I mean, I'm kind of tempted to Pat Morley's just because of his perseverance. Although, the guy got to ranks in the end, kind of being quite favourite. I'll say the Pat 40 on the hill because he refused to die. He killed some things.
Okay, so we got the Pak 40s for the Germans because the one guy on the hill who was basically ranged in from turn 2, who got hit pretty much every turn, just didn't die. And Lucas, who's your man of the match?
I've got to say the Stuarts, just because they completely blunted a Panzer Grenadier attack. They were a massive headache for Tom, and they only cost 10 points. I can't really complain with that. No, very good. And this town wasn't so easy. It would have been easier if the Americans had actually started rallying earlier, because the Germans would have never got close. And I do think having the defenders having immediate reserves in this mission makes it a lot more competitive, because I think if Tito's been watching this, the 2 times I've played it, I played as a defender and the attacker, and the defender never got anywhere near with delayed reserves, because these Panthers would have been in on turn 5 and they would have been too far away, and then the recce would have been pointless. They would have not even been in by now probably, and that's it. So I'll chat to the boys post battle report, and everyone stay safe and stay tuned for another one. And what's the next game, boys, with this one, the campaign? I believe it's Operation Victory with the Dashman trying to counterattack the breakthrough.
Nice. So we have a little German counterattack to look forward to for the next game in the Euro Trip campaign. So everyone stay safe.